it's Ask Dr. Ben. There was a really good paper, really, really good, about hydroxychloroquine. And what this is doing is actually summing up a lot of other studies. And they're doing a very careful statistical job. And so they're doing things like controlling for the effect of different ages, different races, people with different severity of disease when they come in. Just about everything you could think. Male versus female, bias in there. Body mass index, people who smoked, they're controlling for all of that. And so, even with those things being equal, this study is just enormous. It's got, if I remember right, 96,000 people's data in there, 96,000 patients, of which something like, I think 14,000 had some version of chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine with or without an antibiotic on top of that. And so it's the first really, really definitive thing. And what it shows is that there is a significant increase in the risk of death and a significant increase in the risk of heart arrhythmia, which can lead to heart attack and death, associated with chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine in COVID. Now, there are people that are saying, well, these are safe drugs to use in other cases like lupus. That may well be. It just does not look like there's any scientific evidence that they are safe drugs to use in COVID-19. That's all this paper is focused on. That's all it's saying. So, yeah, I would say take a look at this thing. It is really authoritative, and it's nice to finally have some degree of sort of reasonable scientific certainty on this. It's a beautiful piece of work. I've got it on the back tab. I'll scroll down to the concluding bit. There we go. Yeah, which is that we were unable to confirm a benefit of hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine when used alone or with a macrolide, which is the kind of antibiotics that they've been using, on in-hospital outcomes, unlike anything that happens in the hospital with COVID-19. Each one of these treatments was associated with decreased survival, so more death, and increased frequency of, it's called ventricular arrhythmia, which is where your heart is beating weird, and often you won't get enough oxygenation in parts of your body, and that can lead to much more serious things, like some of the bad consequences we see from COVID. So there we go. Yeah. And that's fine. There are a lot of other things that could work. What we don't know yet, and one of the other concerns I think people had, is whether or not taking chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine before you get infected might prevent the infection from starting in the first place. That is possible. People use chloroquine type drugs that way for sort of a pre-treatment against malaria. And I believe it's shown to work there, or at least I know it's very widely used. I haven't read those papers myself. So it's possible. It is possible that it could have some effect, but it looks as though if you already have confirmed COVID-19, there is no benefit and a considerable risk of bad outcomes, as in death. Yeah, the risk is about twice as high when you're taking hydroxychloroquine as opposed to not taking it. So, yeah. All right, it was a thing worth investigating. It's been investigated, and yeah, that's it. That's just how it works in science. It's kind of hard. This is the most difficult part, when you really believe in something and you think, gosh, that really ought to work. It has a mechanism the way it could work, and if statistically there is just no support that it does work, you got to internalize that. You got to let it go, and you got to say, all right, well, yeah, on to the next thing. That's probably the hardest part about doing science, and it's not something that everybody, even every scientist, does well. There are things that we, me in particular, still would really, really like to hold on to, and it's just not supportable. And so, yeah, gotta let them go. There we go. So, all right, fine. But there are still other treatments out there, and we haven't had this kind of definitive sort of meta study with lots and lots of data in it yet for something like remdesivir. It doesn't look particularly promising at the moment. It's sort of promising in some cases and doesn't seem to help much in others. I feel like that might work a little bit better because it's working directly on the virus as opposed to changing the way every single cell in the body works a little bit. And I mean, if you think about those, changing every cell, you're probably going to have a larger side effect, whatever that side effect is, compared to something that's really specific to the virus. And I guess we don't know it's really specific. We just know it can specifically interact with parts of the virus. So, yeah, so that one's still out there. And there are others that are being considered. There are a lot that have had papers published about them. I'm waiting to see a decent, well-controlled study of nifamostat. That might be a good one, but we're not going to know until we get there. And yeah, on the one hand, I hope we get there soon, but on the other hand, I want to make sure these studies are done properly. And so, we'll wait for that. Anyway, there you go. That's our Dr. Ben update for Monday, secretly recorded on a Sunday. But yeah, don't tell anybody. I'll talk to you later. This is Ask Dr. Ben.